Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the January 11th, 2022 meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission. Tonight we have Karen sitting in for a future Historic Preservation Officer, and she will be taking minutes, etc., for the meeting. Could you call the roll, please, ma'am?
Yes, I sure can. Steve Hinnick.
Here.
Mitzi Rosillian. Here. Tracy Miller. Here. Jennifer Peterson. Here. John Reardon. Here. Bobby Stauffer is absent. John Weitzel is not in attendance.
Oh, he's not attending this evening? Yeah, he is not here yet. Okay. Very well. Thank you very much, Karen Burns.
John Weitzel, I just called your name. John Weitzel.
John Weitzel is here. The minutes show that John Weitzel is here. And we'll let him get settled in a little bit, but I'm thinking, has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of the September 14th and the October 5th meetings of the HPC? And I've read through them. I was not at the September 4th meeting. It looked like it was kind of interesting too, and I apologize for not being there. Any comments or questions on any of these minutes? Hearing none, I would move that we accept the minutes for the September 14th, 2021 meeting. Do I hear a second? Tracy has seconded the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. How about the October 5th, 2021 meeting? Any other comments or anything on this one? Hearing none, I would move that the October 5th, 2021 meeting minutes of the Historic Preservation Commission be approved. Do I hear a second? John Reardon is seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Glad we got those all written up. Any public comment tonight on any items on the agenda? Hearing none, seeing none. We appreciate the attendance sometimes, but we don't have much tonight. Thank you, sir, for being here. All right. Well, we can get right into our new and old business. One, we have a demo COA for 57 West Platinum Street. I know that Karen had given us an opportunity to go visit the site, and I'm not sure, I didn't make it. I've driven by it several times, but I have not really gone into it. So would you like to outline the request, Karen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I will be brief. I believe you all probably had a chance to read through the packet, and I know a lot of you were able to attend. I did not prepare a special PowerPoint for you. This is a PDF file of the agenda, and it has all the same pictures that were already presented to you or in your packets. So the owner of 57 West Platinum is here tonight. His name is Keith Brown. Keith plans to do a partial demolition of the non-conforming addition, 325 square feet, the roof deck, and the detached single-car garage, as you saw if you did go visit the property. He is planning a complete renovation of this project. It was considered at the URA board meeting this morning for some of the interior work that is eligible and some of the exterior work that is eligible for URA funding. And so we are very excited about his ability to do this property. I think that those of you who saw it saw how interesting it was on the inside. I think it's a great piece of property. It's very visible on Platinum Street, and it'll be a great addition to that neighborhood. We're seeing a lot of work being done in that neighborhood right now. And this is the location. We're seeing infill development with new housing being placed in this neighborhood and a lot of renovation. So if you look at this Platinum Street view, you can see in this area, this is the rooftop deck. Keith allowed me the opportunity to actually go up there, which was interesting. The views are amazing, but it's really not a good spot to stand in terms of structural integrity. And then this little entryway here leads into an addition, and then this is the little single-car garage here that you can see that's been covered up by a lot of landscaping and rubble and other things. And so their plans beyond this demolition of these pieces of these elements of this property is they're going to do landscaping work and a lot of other work to the exterior that is going to look really, really nice. And so that is the alley view. This is the alley that comes here that runs north and south. You can see that the house sits right up to the property lines, basically, and that it already has a metal roof on it. That was done, many years ago. So, exciting project. They have applied for the demolition permit. This is the where that will be demoed, and the rooftop addition and deck, and then the little garage. So, leaving the original house intact. And Keith is here. I'm sure he would be happy to talk about his project or answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Any questions you might have for Mr. Brown concerning his demolition request? John Reardon?
I don't, excuse me, thank you. I don't really have any questions. I just think that the people that did the walkthrough on this property and all that would agree that the demolition is needed to make this property safer and to progress on the upkeep and remodeling of it. Like Karen said, the deck, it's a different deal and all that. It's a neat old house, and I think that it'll really help out that neighborhood with the plans that this gentleman and his wife have. So I think that permit will really help them out. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Anyone else? My comment would be that it is sort of a worker's cottage, if you will, that we've seen on the hill. It's got the pyramidal roof and then the garage to the side of it. When I saw the aerial view, it kind of struck home. And I know that it's the previous owner sort of took pride in his wood butchery, something like, it's kind of a wood butcher's. Yeah. That was a terminology that was taken up in the 80s. And I think that is sort of a burgeoning neighborhood down there. You've got a lot of Habitat for Humanities type homes, and people are taking a good look at this area. So I really have no particular objections to the demo. I know that we sometimes, and we always generally do on a demolition, ask that whatever you do put on there, that we would get the ability to review that. So Mitzi, would you like to reflect that kind of a motion that we would maybe approve this demolition request?
I make a motion that we approve this demolition request as it has been proposed to us, and that any modification to the lot in the place of the two demolished pieces come for design review, should that be considered an option by the property owner.
Thank you very much. Do I hear a second to that motion? All right. John Reitzel, he indicated he would like to second that motion. Any further discussion? Prior to, would you like to say anything, Mr. Brown, tonight? Or if it's, what do you kind of have in mind for your house?
We kind of have, come forward. Okay. I usually don't need a microphone, but I can turn one on here, that's fine.
Okay.
There we go. Our vision for this property, we went to look at it on a little bit of a lark, just because it'd been on the market for quite a while, and it's obviously very quirky. We're new to town, so we're looking at a lot of properties. And this one, if you think the outside's quirky, you really should see the inside. Those of you that didn't get the opportunity to see it, it's very entertaining. There is an immense amount of Butte history, and Steve, as you said, wood butchery. It's an interesting combination of some actually pretty good carpentry skills and an odd outlook on life, I think, a combination. So Anyway, we're going to try and maintain and enhance as much as we can of what's there. And our plan at this point is to look into renting it as an Airbnb with sort of like a miner's cabin, sort of a feel to it. So that's kind of our vision, at least at this point, for this particular property.
And that would be for the existing house that's going to remain, is that correct?
Right,
That's correct.
exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
great. Anybody else have any other questions for Mr. Brown? Well, yes, John
Yeah,
Weitzel.
just, my question, what happened to the, Mr. Smith, the owner? Did he pass away?
As far as we know, he's in a nursing home.
Okay.
And we're actually we're making an effort to try and meet him, and I'd like to talk to him a little bit about just kind of what his
Yeah, because he used to
his
be,
ongoing vision was there.
yeah, because he used to eat at the diner right across the street from my shop there at Annie's Cafe all the time.
Right.
And it's on his journey to the junkyard. So, yeah, so just curious. I just wondered what happened to him because he was an interesting character.
Well, there's a business card still in the house that apparently he had a salvage business.
Yes.
And I think a lot of what he salvaged went into this property. Yeah. So it's got a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Keith. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of the demolition request at 57 West Platinum Street, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Well, good luck with it, and keep us informed. Mitzi?
So I just want some clarification from Karen and Keith both, that there was a request before the URA for some other additional work, and I want to just find out whether or not that's something that's going to come before the Historic Preservation Commission at a future date, or if it is all going to be such things as interior work, of which we have no interest.
Thank you, Mitzi. So I can do some clarification, and I can turn it over to Keith. There is multiple aspects to the application that came before the URA this morning. Most of it is interior work. There is some exterior work that was included in that, including the demolition and then a new water service line that was placed. So nothing that really needs to, that rises to the level for HPC review. But I'll let Keith talk about that.
Yeah, the house needs pretty much everything. I mean, we're going to do all new wiring, all new plumbing. It's going to get a new kitchen, a new bathroom, new flooring, new lighting, the whole works. So most of it's interior work. The demolition, the landscaping, and gutters, I think, are the only exterior items. And our plan is to do just gutters, obviously, around the original house in the copper penny, so it looks like actual copper, but that's what we typically do on houses in the area.
Yes. Any additional work that comes to maybe answer a question before it's asked, I apologize, is any additional work that would come that would be siding or windows or things like that, I would definitely bring for review for this body.
I just want to say thank you for clarifying that.
Thanks.
Great. Well, congratulations, and good luck with your project.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right. Now we have a design review at 56 East Mercury, the site of the old Blue Range. And as you've seen, the demolition has taken place, and now they're planning on doing a facade improvement to it. I think you've seen it in our packet, but Karen, would you like to lead us through this?
Sure, and I am also calling Kevin Feldman, who is the architect from CTA who drew up these renderings, so he can be on the line. Hi, Kevin, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. You're joining the meeting. Thank you very much. And so Kevin is just on the line in case there's questions that I can't answer or technical things that I am not familiar with that you may ask about that I'm not able to answer in the right way. So thank you for your patience with me. How Steve prefaced this is exactly what we're looking at doing is what is going to become of how this will be changed and look as it's finished. And so I tried to be as descriptive as possible through pictures in terms of what will be done at the building. As you can see, the north wall, this is the side that faces Mercury Street. The plan is to re-brick the entire north wall with both existing brick that's in place to fix that brick or replace bricks, install windows in the configuration that's shown here, and then also to cap that wall with a really nice cornice that's metal. I have examples of both the metal that will be around the windows and on the cornice here, if anybody's interested in that. All of the doors would be black metal as well. I know some of the questions, I'll go through this and then please you can just pepper me with questions and I'll see if I can respond to them or we can answer them correctly in a good fashion. So this is the west wall. That west wall will be re-bricked as well. And then the window configuration, as you see here, I included the windows in your packet from Milgard that they will be using and replacing all of these existing windows with new Milgard windows. The grids that's in the glass will be between the two panes of glass. They won't be set on top. They'll be actually between the two panes of glass to make this the lights configuration there. On the east wall, this wall is a little bit more difficult in terms of what will be done with it. This opening here that you can see that looks like it's plywood, that will be bricked over, and that opening will be closed. And then these three windows will be replaced with new windows as described in the Milgard quote. This back wall is the wall that is going to go through the most change. This is the south-facing wall. This wall, the foundation has crumbled beyond what they can repair. So what they're going to do is they're going to have to pour a new foundation, and then they're going to install these overhead doors along the south wall, which actually allows the building to function as the warehouse that they need. And so these will be overhead metal black garage doors. This finish on the exterior of the south wall will be a V-groove metal siding that will be placed horizontally in a 29 gauge metal. And it will be this red brick color. That's what's being called out. And I think in your packet I did include an example from Bridger Steel that shows the V-groove wall and what that looks like. This is the detail. I'm sorry, I switched gears quickly on you. Here's the detail of the black metal cornice that'll go around the roof line of the entire structure. And let me see if I can get you close up on this V-groove here. There's the windows.
Karen, one correction.
Sorry.
The parapet will only be on the front facing.
Oh, sorry. Yes, that's true.
We'll continue to drain the roof off the south side of the building.
Correct. So if you look at the parapet, I'll get back to those pictures. It won't be on the south side of the building. It will be on the other sides of the building, as shown in the pictures. And so then that V-groove metal siding around the back on the south side will be the 29 gauge metal. It'll be placed horizontally and it will be in a red brick color. And I think, and this is a little bit closer detail of the panels and how they fit together. I do want to say that Kevin, myself, the owners of the property, and the former historic preservation officer, we had many meetings and many discussions and stacks of correspondence back and forth. You can see the multiple colors on this indicate everyone that had a say and answered questions and went back and forth with this. So we were trying to do a very thorough job. I understand that there might be questions, of course. We're happy to try to answer them the best that we can. The other thing I wanted to show you is that I asked for examples of the brick. So I'll pass these around if you're interested. This is the original brick that was salvaged off the building, this one. There was not enough brick that was salvageable to be able to do all the brickwork that needs to be done on all three sides of the building. So the property owner worked with Buddy Fisher in town to locate pallets of brick. These were purchased. He purchased multiple pallets of brick from Helena, and this is the purchased brick. And these multiple pallets of brick will be installed on the building. In case anybody's interested in feeling, touching these, I would pass them around. I'll throw them at you. I'm just kidding. But, so we wanted to make sure you saw, here's the original, and here is the new brick. The mortar called out is type N limestone mortar to be used in the rebricking, so. Happy to answer any questions, and Kevin is on the phone to back me up because I might not know the correct terminology.
So it's my understanding that the salvage brick would be interspersed with this purchased brick so it blends properly, so you won't just have one section of old and the section of new, that you would intersperse this, the masons would. I like the idea that the parapet wall having a nice metal cap, you know, really you really haven't altered the backside of the front of the building too much. I just wonder if they're going to have any plans for the foreground there. Are you, maybe some landscaping or something, or, oh, it's going to be parking maybe, I don't know. That would be a question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am not sure exactly. I do know that they have site plans for the all the yard work at the property around the building. Those site plans are being developed right now. They're working with a few different excavation companies on those and a stormwater plan with Butte-Silver and an engineering firm to make sure that's all done correctly. We don't have those plans in front of us yet, but once we do, I definitely can bring those back to the commission.
That's fine, I was just curious. John Reardon?
Yes. Good job, Karen. You did a great job on presenting this and all that. I was wondering if you could go back to the first one, photo of the north wall.
Sure.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. I think it's done really, really nice, but if I remember correctly and all that, we have one that's going to start construction over there by John's Pork Shop with a similar look and all that. And to me, I mean, the windows are great, everything looks great, but I just think maybe it needs a little something. I mean, maybe some older lights, or maybe even over the doors, maybe a little, you know, to kind of blend in with the neighborhood there and all that. Like I said, the building, it's going to be gorgeous, and the material that they're using and all that, but it just seems like all of a sudden it's there, and it just, you know, there's no, like you said with the landscape, it needs something. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you for your comment. I can definitely pass that on, and I'm
Yeah.
sure there will be opportunity to add. I think that they were, wanted to get this in front of the commission so that they could start putting numbers to the cost of doing this, because they wanted a final approval on, not a final, approval on this stage so that they could put numbers to it, so they could start costing it out and looking at funding sources. So
Right.
there could be more added, I agree.
Right.
And just to clarify John's remarks, it doesn't look like a front facade of a building particularly. I mean, I think the materials are fine, but because of the fact that it was a portion of the building that was covered up for so long, that these openings were what remained. Isn't that correct? If your architect could explain that maybe in a little more depth?
Sure. Kevin, could you give a little explanation of the reasoning for where the openings are for the windows and things? I know that there is a method to this madness.
Yeah, so the new openings on the north wall really were done, you know, somewhat to the previous comment. You know, there are currently no openings on that wall other than the metal door that is shown up there as well. But yeah, just to provide a little bit of reveal and aesthetic on the front side was really the intent of adding the windows from a functionality standpoint. The windows are certainly not required for the use of the proposed use of the facility. So you know, it was kind of just a concession, I think, that we made with the design and trying
Thank you. Mitzi has a comment.
I have many comments. I'm coming to this from the point of which I want this to be something that looks, even though we're essentially transforming a building that never, the north wall was never exposed because it was added later, but that would be appropriate for the type of auto repair shop that it was. I'm also going to comment about some of the materials and some of the things that I think should be preserved. I'll finally have some questions about some of the materials, the specific items that are going to be used, and the fact that I don't think that they were properly, I don't want to say properly, they weren't spec'd out in the quote from Triple S that we received, and so there's some ambiguity in my mind about what's appropriate, or what material was actually going to be used. So I'll start on the north wall because that's of interest to the commission, obviously. The windows that are in the wall that is set back are too small. This is what is trying to be proposed, or what is trying to be presented, is something that would look appropriate as a historic building that was an auto repair. And if not, that's what should be the guiding principle. These windows are 3 by 4, and at a minimum, I think they should be the 58 by 62 window, which is the largest window in the west wall. I get that determination in my mind from looking at I'd like to just call it the wheel alignment building. And the wheel alignment building has windows that fill the space and are of historic scale, appearance, and that is what I would like to see in this building. The fact that there were, I'm going to say,
I can provide, on that item, I can provide a little bit of feedback, additional feedback there that may be pertinent to the committee. We had considered the use of larger windows. However, if you look at the west elevation, you can see that the head height of the northmost wall is significantly higher than the other windows on the west side. That is because as you enter from the overhead door facing Mercury, there's a significant drop in grade, and the ceiling elevation also follows that same line. So the head height of the windows on the stepped back north wall is essentially maxed out at very close to the ceiling elevation on the interior of the building. The reason that it looks small, if you will, due to scale, is because the roof trusses all slope from the front to the back. So if those windows were to be enlarged height-wise, they would then be up in the attic space, not in the open auto shop space. So.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin, and that is one of the points that we clarified on our back and forth review of the project, and that was something that we talked about, those windows being smaller on that north wall, but it was explained in detail why they couldn't be any bigger because of the roof trusses in the attic space. They'd be basically false windows. If you were to enlarge them, the top of them wouldn't actually view into any open working space that would be in an attic.
And that would conflict then with the bearing elevation of interior trusses as well.
I get that. However, on the west elevation, there is a window that is set down lower in the wall, it appears to me. Can you explain? And that is, as a matter of fact, when you look at the existing, it looks like it is probably down to within 2 feet of the, essentially the interior floor. And so are you telling us that that sort of window would be, could not be put in because of the distance from the floor, or what is the explanation about that height? Which the difference of height is 22 inches. So if it was the bottom of a larger window that was set lower down in the wall, would be able to accommodate the roof height and would also address concerns about the small size of the window.
You're saying by enlarging the window by lowering the sill of the window?
That is correct.
Yeah. You know, I think the biggest thing there is the lower you bring those windows, they become much more susceptible to vandalism and damage due to, you know, anyone kicking the windows, et cetera. So it does become pretty close to the sidewalk level or main dirt levels on the exterior.
Yeah, I had a question. Your door that's on that north side in the setback wall, is that head height 7'4"? That would be your coursing. And so that's 7'4". You know, you could probably end up with a 2-foot, like a 2'1" or 2'2", 2'2" sill height if you came from 7'4" down. So that was my question. So that you're our 3070 door with a 4-foot head, 4-inch head.
Was arranged to match the aspect ratio of the panels of the existing windows on the west wall. Was how kind of the size of those windows was developed. Was to maintain the aspect ratio or the pane size.
Continue, Mitzi.
In addition, I believe, and maybe this has to do with the attempt to make the window appear larger than it actually is, but the lintel, the brick lintel that is on the 3 windows on the north side on the setback wall is just so unlike anything else that's there. I don't think it's appropriate. As a matter of fact, if we're talking about making something look bigger without it actually being a larger window, and I still would be interested in considering that further, then it seems some kind of metal surround would be able to address that issue. The window would not have to be brought down. It would have a metal surround so that it appeared that the window was larger, and it would not have a lintel that is inconsistent with every other facade that is on the particular drawing that you provided for us. But aside from that, I think maybe Steve was talking a little bit on and I couldn't quite understand it, but maybe you, between the two of you, you can set me straight. But I'm talking about the person door that is in the bump out on the north side that is adjacent, so that is between the window and between the garage. Is that a full-length 7-foot window? Is there a transom? I don't know what's there, and until I know it's there, I can't say one way or the other whether or not that is something that I would support. To me, if it's going to be a tall window, then it should have a window transom in the top of it at a minimum.
Let's let Kevin address each comment, if you don't mind, so we don't get lost. Thank you.
So I believe the question was with respect to the man door that's below the 56, or is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Yes, that is correct. The existing head height of the overhead door and the window opening and man door with transom was what was existing there. And
But is there going to be a man door with a transom? Because there's no drawing, and there's nothing specced out between S, and I can't really see the detail on this, so I just want clarification that there's going to be a transom.
transom could be incorporated there. Right now, it's just boarded in for the most part.
On the drawings, Kevin, I think Mitzi's question was, and I'm trying to help her clarify, was it's hard for us to tell on the drawing if that is spec'd as a metal man door with a transom or just a tall window. It's just really hard to tell.
That was the intent, was a metal door with a transom,
Okay, all right, we'll check that one.
adjacent to the windows.
Correct. Okay,
Thank you. I won't talk about the garage door because I want to talk about those garage doors in the back. But maybe you'll see when I bring up my concerns about that, it might have some bearing on what this garage door is going to look like in the front. The last thing I would say is if there is some serious consideration of some black metal surrounds on the windows to make them bigger, that this, a similar thing be done, in my opinion, with the doorway, because the doorway is kind of naked there. I think something that essentially made it a little bit bigger, and whether or not that is going to be settled with what Steve had talked about, which is a light and whatever is going to be on the door, that may be settled, but that is the other thing that I have thought about concerning the north wall. Concerning the west wall, no comment. It's essentially replacing windows of like size, and the brick is to be replaced, step parapet, all of that is something that I support. The east wall, I also support the closure of what was once a passageway door between that and the other building, which is no longer there, and it makes a lot of sense for that to be infilled. And I hope, but I can't tell exactly, that the 3 windows that are in the step forward in the back will fit the window openings that they are now. Karen is nodding her head yes, so that's great. I have many concerns about the rear for a variety of reasons. As I've stated earlier in meetings like this, when a building is, this isn't the rear of the building. I mean, it is the rear of the building, but to people in the community, this is readily available from the street. And so we are looking at a facade that is high visibility, and we have expectations about high visibility on a rear facade, or at least I do. So there's a couple things. I'm not convinced that removal of all of the, well, I don't know where to begin. Removal of all of the window openings is something that's desirable. And so, for example, I can't tell from the scale, but the 2 or 3 that are on the east side, I would like to see large windows, such as the largest window, the 58 by 62 in the west wall. I'd like to see them at that location to preserve some of that, the original design elements. If in fact these large garage doors are to be put forward. The garage doors that I have a concern about, and I'll get to the material on the V-groove metal on the wall, I have a question. I don't see any windows in the AMAR or AMAS. I don't see any on the spec garage doors. For those 5 garage doors, I don't see any top windows. And my question is, are there going to be top windows or aren't there going to be top windows? I think the top windows, in my opinion, even though I'd rather see windows back there instead of a big row of garage doors, I think the windows add some interesting definition, but I can't, because there's a conflict between what's spec'd out and what's pictured, I don't know what to think.
Kevin, do you know if they planned on windows in those rear garage doors? I was under the impression that they did plan on windows in those, but I would, if you have clarification, I agree. I think there should be.
There was back and forth discussion with historic preservation and
With
the owner
Mary.
on that.
agreed to put windows in. Great. Okay, so yes, we will have windows in the garage doors in the rear.
So to clarify then, are there going to be like windows in the garage door on the north wall?
On the north wall? I don't think they're planned for that north wall, but I think we should make a match,
So do
for
I.
lack of a better term. So I think that would, like we said, that was a back and forth, and so we will just make that note that there are windows in the garage doors. In the top, yes, in the top panel.
Are there existing windows in that door now?
No.
Then why do we want them? Why do you want these windows, Mitzi? Why do we need windows in these garage doors? Is that historic? It has no bearing on the historic quality of a second facade on the south, and trying to make them be the same on the north seems kind of, I don't know why we're doing that. And secondly, this is a warehouse now. It is no longer a crib. The historic value has been destroyed, if you ask me. That's my opinion. And I think the effort that they're trying to do is use some materials that are compatible with the uptown area. Now, if they didn't want to get any URA funding, they could probably put metal siding on the whole thing. But at this point, I really think they made a pretty good effort to try to make this thing a little better. Now, trying to redesign this thing via committee is something that is somewhat difficult, and I appreciate your comments, I do. The windows in the front, that would be kind of your primary facade now, you know, they are sort of just haphazardly put there with no real reason. I don't see a real reasoning in that. It's not like they're flanking a door or making it look like a storefront. It looks like the back of a warehouse in a way. So I do agree with you on that. But like I say, trying to pick apart a garage door that's going to be for a warehouse, I think, you know, I like putting the windows in south-facing doors because it brightens the area. But as far as our decision historically, I don't know if that's a concern of ours, but obviously you feel it is. So that's my comment. Anybody else? John Reardon.
Thank you, Steve. I somewhat agree with you. I think that the attempt that is being made here and all that, I just go back to the concern. I mean, it is going to be a warehouse, and if you go along the back of the current business now where they're expanding, naturally a lot of this stuff is going to be inside, but a lot of it is going to be outside. And you know where it's going to be stacked. It's going to be stacked in that area between the garage door and the end. As far as having the large window in the rear, that's a crime waiting to happen. I mean, that part of town really hasn't been secure for quite a while. And I admire Mitzi, you know, for following specs and all that stuff, but I have to agree with Steve that when the building was demolished, that we did lose the historical situation that we had on Mercury Street, and these people making an effort to come in and somewhat comply to match and get the job done with decent materials, I think is something that we really got to look at. And I think that there are some things that were discussed that we really do not have any say in. Thank you.
And just to echo what Mitzi was trying to get at with those windows on the front, if indeed you did have something above those doors to kind of tie those windows together in a meaningful way, I think it would improve it. Don't you agree?
I know this is not right. I'll know it when I see it. I mean, I don't know what that something would be. I would just like to respond to those comments, and I don't have any problem. I wanted to go step by step of all the things I disagreed, because I want to say that in its current configuration, I cannot support this particular design. And I wanted you to know what my thought process was regarding that. And if you can approve it, then that's your, you know, that's why we're a committee. I'd just like to say two more things about the rear wall that have nothing to do with the garage doors. One is There is a ghost sign there, and the ghost sign should be preserved. 2, I don't like that the substitution of, even though it's red brick colored, of a metal on the back. Enough said. The ghost sign, I feel very strongly about. Stax has already demonstrated in the building that they had years ago that came before the Historic Preservation Commission that they considered and preserved this ghost sign that was up on their original building, and I think we should expect no less here.
Mitzi, where is that ghost sign? I guess I'm not,
Anderson Repair Shop.
Anderson Repair Shop, okay, it's painted on the brick, upper right, okay. Oh, up in there, yeah. Well, okay. All right, thank you for your comments. Anybody else on the commission? John Weitzel.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I was looking at the front of that building, and just in my occupation, that could be very easily remedied with some signage or even with some awnings. The windows themselves being as narrow as they are, I believe that they could probably be wider. They're not necessarily taller, probably 6 foot wide, and then with a real nice whether it be a metal canopy or a fabric awning. And so you would just start at the top of the window and go up, and that would enlarge the window itself from the appearance. And then you got that nice little area right there in the middle. And the other thing too to think about this too, especially this time of year, that's the north side of the building. And that never gets any sunshine during the winter. And that's where all your snow and all your hazard and everything build up. If that door is the entrance door there that also may be for customers or whatever, I think that would actually be a very good spot for an awning and that to keep that sidewalk covered. You know, just because of the snow removal and stuff. But that front facade can be very easily remedied with some awnings and probably some classy signage. And the same with the back. Thank you.
Thank you, John. How does the client feel about that suggestion as far as trying to enhance that north facade and accentuate the entranceway with either a covered awning or some treatment with the windows to make it a little more appealing?
So I'll go first, and I think that they would be open to that concept for sure. And I don't know if Kevin has another thought on that, but I do think that those suggestions are good ones, and I think they would be welcomed and, you know, practical in a lot of ways, so.
All right.
Kevin, go ahead.
I think one of the you know, kind of facts, based on the proposed function, it's not necessarily something
Oh, sorry, Kevin, you're cutting out on us a little bit. Can you hear me?
Okay, going back to kind of the vandalism discussion previously, the front facade is not something necessarily that we hope to create attraction with either. So those type of elements are mounted on the exterior for one. I don't feel that they're, once again, historical. They weren't there with the original cribs or the auto repair shop. Nor, you know, but could they, I guess, improve the aesthetic? Yes, potentially, but not and remain historical in my mind.
Thank you, Kevin. So it is something that we would bring back to the owners and see their consideration.
Well, let's see.
So I would like to make a motion, but I don't know exactly how we're going to proceed from here, Karen, and maybe you could give us some guidance. I feel that there are some things that have been mentioned by some commissioners, myself included, and Jennifer shook her head about the ghost sign, so that didn't get to be in the record. I would like the ghost sign saved too. So I don't know where we go now, whether or not we say we're going to defer a vote until the client has had an opportunity to consider all of those things, or whether or not they want to vote on the building on the plans as they have been produced and presented to us here. So I'd like some clarification from staff.
I don't believe I can give you clarification necessarily at this point, given that I don't know for sure what you've agreed upon to suggest back to the client. So I think I need clarification from this body as to what you are going to require them to do or ask them to do as part of the design review process, and then I could bring that back to them. If this body's concurrence is that the windows be reconfigured on the front of the building, that awnings are added, that lighting is possibly added, and that the rear wall ghost sign is saved, then I would have to bring that back to them for further design. I guess I need to know what the motion would be from this body before I can answer the question.
I'd like to make a motion. I would move that we approve the design with the following provisions. We would appreciate and expect that the ghost sign on the south facade be preserved. We would also suggest a more enhanced entryway on the north facade. The brick and the trim are acceptable. And so those are the two provisions I would ask that the owner comply with for approval. Do I hear a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded.
Real quick on that, could we get a clarification about which entrance on the north you're considering the entrance? Is it the one adjacent to the overhead door or standalone?
The standalone, I
The
believe.
standalone door, yes, that doorway. We would like some, possibly at least at that one, maybe a lower sill height on that window to make it look like like as what Mitzi was referring to as a indication of a possible business, retail or repair shop business. But the rest of them, I think, are fine. So I would amend that motion to include an enhancement of the window adjacent to the new man door on the north setback wall. And John, do you, would that work with your second? Okay. So any further discussion on this motion? Hearing none, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. One opposed. All right. So what I would like for you to do, Karen, is to ask that owner to come back with a sketch of how they want to enhance that doorway. And then I would like to have that tentatively brought before us, either informally or formally at our next meeting. But the rest of it seems like a go. Thank you. And I want to thank all the interest on this commission for this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, do we have any staff reports? I know you have some information as far as the search for a new HPO, excuse me.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have received a total of 17 applications into Butte-Silver Bow for this position. We are considering, well, actually not considering, we're interviewing 6 applicants this week, 5 on Thursday and 1 on Friday. John Reardon is sitting on that committee with us. And so once we are able to determine our finalists out of that 6, we will be asking them to complete an exercise similar to the exercise we asked folks to complete when we searched for Mary when she was hired into her position. So we will ask them to do some hands-on work for us to understand, get their basic understanding of the job, and we'll go from there. But hopefully out of these 6, we do get a few that we feel rise to the level to be finalists and go on to a second round of interviews. The position is still open and accepting applications, and so on Thursday, we may get some additional applications for consideration. So we're not rushing this. We want to make sure that we get someone in that fits the bill, but I'm hopeful on Friday that we'll have some good applications.
Thank you, Karen. Any comments from the audience or the public on any items that were not on the agenda, or on the agenda, excuse me? On the agenda? Is that what we, not on the agenda, right. I knew that we started with one way and we're finishing with another, I'm sorry. And hopefully at our next meeting, we will have our agenda thing here. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Hearing none. Any other comments or announcements from our commission? Then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.